In this video, we're going to talk through mapping of our garden here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and how we keep up with the plants that are in the ground. It might be different than other people, and we'll talk through some other methods as we go through the video. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to show you a new tool that I have available as well to maybe help you out with this. But let's go through some reasons for mapping. You know, for us, we have a lot of plants in this garden out here, and it changes throughout the season. So you go back, if you go back to this space right here that I'm standing in front of back in February, we had bulbs come up and the bulbs bloomed. And then at some point they disappeared later in the season. We had perennials come up in here, and have bloomed the majority of the season. We have spring ephemerals. Those are plants that come up in the spring, bloom, and then literally die back to the ground as soon as it gets hot. And so it's an ever-changing thing out here in the garden. And when we go to plant something, it's nice to know, what's sitting in that spot. One of the things for us is while it's up, I can identify it. I can identify, that barberry as a barberry. I don't necessarily, my memory though is not that great sometimes with cultivars. There are, who knows, probably, just in barberries, 100 to 200 named barberries. So I might forget that one's called Luton Rouge. And so having it written down, it's helpful that I know barberry, but not always, I can't always remember the exact cultivar name. One thing we've had happen several times now, and we really have an amazing one this year, is we have a native hibiscus that we had a crowded space back here in the back garden, and a couple things were removed this year, and boom, it came back. We thought it was dead and gone. It was on a map. It was on a slightly older version of a map, and so we're able to go and find the name of it because it had been written down. But we literally thought it had died, and we've had a couple perennials do that, where they've basically died back in whatever way they died back in the fall, and they didn't come up very vigorously the next year. So we either thought they were dead, written them off, whatever, and then a year after that, they had established themselves enough, and boom, they're back in the garden. And you're like, it'd be unlikely we would know, that particular plant. The other thing here is on tagging plants in the garden. If you leave the tags on that the plant's purchased with, that's kind of nice, but a lot of times those inks will fade in time. And the other thing is, a lot of times they can strangle the plant. They can actually cause damage to the plant in the future if it's some tag that's wrapped around them with some sort of rubber band or some sort of metal tie that they'll use to tie those tags on. And we like to take the tags off, keep the tags, keep the tags in a safe place. You can actually put them with the individual maps. And we're going to talk about how we've broken this garden down in a few minutes into smaller sections in the garden that we map. We can also use this mapping for design, where you can put the few plants that you have maybe already on some sort of paper, and then fill in from there. And if you're interested in learning that type of design, Steph has a video series on the Learn to Garden video, or a series of videos on the Learn to Garden video series, where she goes step by step from basic beginnings through design on how to use basically layout, graph out, map out the space, and use those tools as you go to envision your garden in the future. So if you're interested in that, it's on the Learn to Garden video series. A couple other ways than we do, and we'll show you in just a minute on how we're mapping the space. A couple other ways, software. There is software available out there that you can get in the details on a piece of software on, some sort of app, or, do it yourself if you want to, and get really, really specific, in a piece of software, which could have some expense to it. It could be, for me, it's just not the way. I prefer pencil on paper. If you watch the question and answer video on Sunday, you see we write the questions down and read them that way. I kind of like doing it that way. I feel like sometimes when you write something down, it's also good for your memory as well. And then the other thing would be to really get exacting and get some graph paper out. Get a big piece of graph paper out and really measure every single square inch of the garden. But for me, I just don't care how far this Weigela is off the corner of that foundation. It doesn't matter to me. The main thing I'm mapping for is so that I remember that this is Weigela Florida Lumansiana aurea. It's a crazy name, right? So I need to remember that occasionally. Okay, there's probably going to be some day I come out here and I'm underslept or whatever, and I'm going to go, what the heck is the name of that thing? And I have it written down. But again, how far it is away from the house, not necessarily. So this can be just a rough version of making sure that we're remembering the bulbs that come up in here, the perennials that come up in here, the shrubs while they're asleep, and other things, and maybe some other opportunity to fill something else in here later. That's really what we're looking for when we're mapping the garden. So what we've done, and by we I mean Steph has done, is break the garden down into smaller chunks. We have 450 plus varieties of plants in this garden, and that may not include a lot of the annual varieties from this year. If I went through and counted now, it's probably more than that. And so putting this on one map would just be a really jumbled mess. It would be really hard to then get in there and put in the bulbs and some of the spring ephemerals and some of the things that kind of come and go during the season within that map. It would be really difficult. So ours is broken down into basically bite-sized pieces. In this box, they're in waterproof Ziploc bags. And just as one example here, we have, this is Cornus angustata, Empress of China, or Cornus elliptica. There's a couple different species names this one goes by, but this is Empress of China. And the styrax we have over here next to it, the Japanese maple that's here, the gardenia that's there. Basically, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. There's maybe 15 plants or something on this individual one right here. We also know from this map, there's a little bit of space in here. We don't have many of these where there's actually a little bit of space where you can see the mulch. So this map looks like opportunity to me. The tags we had from the open garden where we put tags on the plants are in these as well, which allows us to, which will allow her to put them back on easily. But we're in the process of making metal tags for everything. So we hope to have all the annuals, perennials, shrubs, trees, everything tagged in a different way next year. But this project has been, pretty big, and we've done a lot of traveling and things. We're not fully up to date on having everything tagged permanently, but those tags are in that match this particular map. So I can pull out another map. The way I would suggest you breaking your garden down into individual small chunks like this would probably be by the full sun space that's in the front garden, the foundation maybe around the house or just the front foundation, a wet area you have in your garden, a dry shade area you have in your garden. And I'll talk more about that in a minute, a tool that I have that may help you out keeping up with some of those plants in just a minute. But let's see. So this is right in front of the fence, right behind me, literally on the other side of this tree. We have a ginkgo that's out on the street out there, a chamaecyparis that's next to it, a new abelia we planted this year, Suntastic Peach. And then the perennials that are here. And hopefully we can pull this map out next spring in April, late April, early May, and these perennials are still there. That's what we hope, because they die back to the ground and, they come back in the spring, and hopefully they come back bigger, better, fuller. But having them written down with the actual cultivar names, because again, I know when the liatris comes up in the spring, I know it's liatris, but I don't necessarily remember if it's white or pink or, what it is. There's an echinacea out there that's white, and it's powwow white. We know it because it's written down individually, on one of these small pieces of paper. If you label these something like dry shade, swell, seasonally wet, whatever it is, and break down, those individual spaces, it will help you in the future kind of determine maybe what was happening with that plant. So this is a little map of part of the back line back there that I talk about frequently being dry shade. Okay, so there's Akuba, which is great for dry shade. Pieris, once it got established, great for dry shade. Aspidistra, hellebores, great for dry shade back there. And then there's a couple other things we're probably on the verge of it being a little dry back there. And so this will help us, you know, if I see that the things that are less vigorous on this map, they're probably not fitting that space that I have. So it's helping me by having it labeled dry shade, you know, helping me purchase plants for dry shade, and also allowing us to experiment a little bit, you know, with when we have something there, when it doesn't come back or it gets smaller during the summertime, we can kind of go, well, you know, that may not be great. It's great for shade. It's just not great for dry shade. And so if we retry it in the garden, it won't be in this spot. It can be out here in the front garden somewhere. So this is not, again, I don't really care how far away that dogwood is from the front foundation. So I don't need this to be completely and totally precise. I need to know what plants we have, where we have them, an easy way to go and identify them pretty quickly in an organized fashion. And it's perfect for us, and it's super low cost. Okay, I don't have any cost here, you know, other than a piece of paper and some way. So if I have it laying out here, you know, in the garden, because it's in a waterproof little bag like this, it could be laminated, but I don't want to laminate them necessarily because I can make changes to it. Right now, if I laminate it, it's a little harder to make changes to it. You can do it where you can erase things off of it, or you can do it in pen and redo them, you know, on a year-to-year basis if you're making significant changes. Hopefully it's just holes, you know, a hole in here that we plant something and we can just add it to it, you know, without having to completely redo that piece. Again, I said we're going to have all the perennials tagged out here in the future. We're going to have bulbs tagged out here in the future. We'll have these metal spikes that go down into the ground with a little metal tag hanging on them. We could also use plastic pieces. These will frost heave in the winter time and sometimes kind of float and disappear a little bit, you know, when the ground freezes and thaws and everything. Of course, they can become brittle in time and all kinds of things. But I will say that even if I have this, these things disappear from gardens. People walk through gardens and take I don't expect them in my home garden here, but if you go to any botanic garden, in the country, they'll tell you the signage that they're putting in the ground to try to help people identify plants that are in the garden, they disappear sometimes. Sometimes, you know, the plant had a cultivar name with Amanda in it, and Amanda decided to take it. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing, right? Where people will walk away with tags out of gardens. So this, you know, is our backup plan to that. So we'll have both out here in the garden, but if a tag happens to walk away, I'm still gonna need to know the name of it and then sectioned out. You know, I can find the section of the garden and then boom, get that cultivar name really quickly. All right, one thing with the maps is they do need to be updated yearly, so as things are coming back out of the ground. But don't throw the old ones away, because again, it can turn out to be valuable a couple years later. I mean, there are perennials, again, we've had a few examples here in this garden of perennials coming back. I did this initial design with a drone out here, and if you can go back on the channel, there's a playlist called New House. You can see when before this was anything. I put the drone up just like it is now above my head. I laid out these paths that were back here that you can see, and I'll walk this back path now. You know, all these paths were laid out using the drone up above and painting lines on the ground, and continues to be the exact same layout as we originally did, except for where the patio is now, where Steph is standing with the camera, was a little turf area, and we had a little turf area out front. But the rest of this is exactly the way we had originally laid it out. And then those maps that we've drawn that are in the box now represent sections of this. So back again, this back area back here we call dry shade because this line on the back here is dry. The trees that are competing with it. And this allows us to give analysis over time, you know, to what is actually kind of fighting through this dry shade situation. We have since added to this, the city gave us permission to do this side lot over here. And so you can now see we connected this together, and now the native garden has started over here. There's a few plants in it, as you can see from the drone view up here. There's a few plants out here, but you can see the basic. We're using the wood chip path to kind of define the paths out here, and then some hardwood mulch in the rest of it. But I think you can see, but then again, using that drone, if you start off this way, you get some sort of view from Google Maps in some way above your house, or the plot plan, or a drone like this, and lay out those basic areas, and then break it down into segments. Again, what stays wet, what's sunny, what's shady, what's dry, what's wet, whatever it is. And then those can be your little map sections to do your individual mapping, or your basic not to scale mapping like we do, or to scale if you're a person who really wants to make sure you know exactly where this salvia is sitting in terms of where it is from my outbuilding out here. You might want to be that detailed. For us, it doesn't matter. It's my memory. That's what the purpose of mapping in this garden is for our memory. And you can see how all these trails kind of tie together, head out into the front garden out there. So the tool that I've recently added to the weekly garden planner is an inventory tool that allows you to put in all the plants that you've purchased, where you purchased them from, and divide the garden out into areas. So this is the feature that I've added literally this week, is that now you can take those maps that I just showed you in our box, and you can say dry shade area along the back, screening area along neighbor that I don't like, screening area along the neighbor that I do like, front garden space, whatever it is, hell strip out by the road, whatever you want to name the individual areas. Then it allows you to put in the name of the plant, the Latin name and the common name if you want to. You don't have to fill out everything in those spaces, where you purchased it from, notes about it, that kind of thing. And then it allows you to export them into an Excel spreadsheet. And then in that Excel spreadsheet, you can do whatever you want to with them at that point. But it allows you to keep an inventory of all the plants that you've purchased, where you got them from. You may find that you have great success at certain places you go, and other places you don't have success. It might help you literally just where you're shopping. But I think it's a tool that would be beneficial to anyone who has a lot of plants in their garden, or they're just getting started. It will help you along with the maps in conjunction with the mapping that we've shown you in this video. And the other thing is, if you want to learn some just basics of design, go over to the Learn to Garden video series, which is over on the website, the Weekly Garden Planner and the Learn to Garden video series. But the Learn to Garden video series has a series of design videos that Steph has done for the channel. So there's some ideas on our mapping, why we do it. Some people are going to be way more precise than we are. Again, Steph's background is actually in garden design, and I have been doing this for literally 40 years. For me, this is how our garden, how we wanted our garden. I like the integrated trails. I like the feel of being in separate rooms, basically, in the garden, and this is what we like. But I think if you jump in and do what you like, jump in and do what you want to do with your garden space. But these are probably tools that may help you to remember what you've done, what you've succeeded with, sometimes things don't go well, and it's good to know. And if something's not going well in the same spot over and over and over again, that's also good to know as well. It might be a soil related issue and not a plant related issue necessarily. So thank you guys so much for following along.